It's Talk Money Week this week, and we thought, the team at Robson Laidler Wealth, we'd get the girls together and we'd just have a chat about when is it important to talk about money. So for myself and Danielle and Jen, we have younger children. So it's about talking about money when you're giving them pocket money, what's it for, how they might save up for things. I know in my family, we've got the kids go Henry cards, and they have to tick off tasks that they do every week in order to get their pocket money, which I suppose is teaching them that they not only have to work for things, but also teaching them about the value of money. And then it's if they want anything in particular, helping them to budget for that based on the amount of pocket money they've got coming in each week. And if they want something in particular, making them understand, how much that is, how much that'll take off what they've built up in their little savings pot, and then how long that's going to extend the time it takes them to get something else. I don't know what your experience is in your houses, ladies.
My kids are a little bit younger, so we've not got anything like the Go Henry cards yet, but I will consider that in future. But we were thinking a few years ago the impact it would be if either of us weren't able to work, if we were ill, or worse still if one of us died. And it's not a nice thing to think about, but we then thought about getting protection in place. So we've got protection that covers the mortgage if anything was to happen to one of us, and also income protection on both of us. Just because then with having young kids, the emotional impact and then also having financial worries would just be awful if anything was to happen. So that was one of our main concerns.
Absolutely. I mean, I've just bought a house with my partner, and that was the main area of concern for us in terms of what happens if one of us was to be in ill health or, have a critical illness or something like that, that we will make sure that us and my stepchildren are covered for every eventuality. Really is so important, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what about you, Jen? You've got teenagers.
Yes.
What goes on in your house when you talk about money?
They always seem to want money for things, but it's about the oldest one looking for work, his Saturday job, and being a bit more self-sufficient and managing a bank account. But for myself and my husband, it's more planning for the future and looking at university and costs and helping them on the road when they eventually leave home and planning that way. Amanda's obviously at the stage where hers are at university now, so it's slightly different for you to have a look at.
Yeah, we had a big conversation before our eldest went to university and just looked at, we did a food shop, was one of the things we did, maybe Lidl, not Sainsbury's, and definitely not Waitrose, definitely never Waitrose. We talked about a budget, about so much per week and how much you might spend on going out and how much you would spend on food, clothes and everything. So yeah, it seems to be going okay, 5 and a bit years in. She's never sort of come back to us, but it's sometimes when you see inside the makeup bag, you kind of think, gosh, am I giving her too much? But it's a big consideration, and I don't think enough people talk about it as a couple, in terms of the effect it has on, your own finances, having to support your kids through university, and it's been for a long time. I don't want to frighten you off.
Yes, we got together for this chat because we're all at different life stages, and I think Lydia and Megan, you being the youngest and luckiest members of our team, what are the conversations you have around money, whether it's with family or partners or friends?
Yeah, so I'm at the stage now where me and my partner have been together over a year now, and both quite tired of living at home under the same roof with our siblings and parents. So we're looking to buy a house now, although we're not at the formal stage of setting plans in place. We've had the discussions where we've got a rough idea of purchase price, what we might have to save to get to that, taking into consideration different salaries, and just thinking outside of under a roof with our parents.
That's the thing, isn't it? When you move in with somebody, it's about being honest about your finances, understanding what you both spend, understanding what that might look like if you come together, and then it being all relative in terms of who wins what and what their other outgoings are, isn't it? It's quite a difficult discussion, I think, from the outset. But then once it's, all transparent, it makes life a whole lot easier, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah. What about you, Lydia?
So I think it's really important for people my age, I'm 22, to understand how important it is to opt into a pension straight away, because since working here I now understand that a state pension would never cover your lifestyle in later life, and it's important to just begin as soon as you can. But I think it's really hard for people my age to understand that, because like they want the money to be theirs now and not like to think about putting it away.
Do you know, it goes back to what we're actually talking about here, and the importance of talking about money, and the importance of parents talking about things like pensions and savings to their children when they're younger, so when they do go into employment, they know what that pension is and why it's so important. And then obviously, what does a pension give you in retirement? Well, that's ultimately what we all need to plan for, isn't it?
I mean, that's what we do with our clients. A lot of the time we're planning with our clients, but then you've got to be on the same page yourself. You know, when you're giving advice to clients, you've got to make sure you're doing the stuff yourself. So for us, my husband and I obviously work together. He's not here because he's not part of the girls' team. But we can be married for 30 years, and it's something we've always talked about, money all the way through our married life, really, and thank goodness, because you know we're all different. We have different spending habits. You know, Neil's definitely much more of a spender than me, and I'm definitely much better than he is. But it's things like planning for later on life post work. What's that going to look like? And it's important so that you do talk about it and plan together. And that's just what we do with our clients. It's exactly what we do with ourselves. And to make sure that there's no point sort of just going la 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 through life, and life is very busy without talking about these things, because then you get to say into your 50s, and then you find out perhaps that your partner would like to retire at 58, and you thought you might have wanted to retire at 65, and then what do you do? So it's important to just think about that early and plan for it. And that's something that we do. And also I think as well, there's no point as a couple, if you can possibly try and make your retirement planning the same, try and have the same amount in your pensions, equalise. It's really difficult sometimes, but that's something that we try and do as a couple.
I think a lot of people in that scenario, if one's been a slightly higher earner, they don't really understand the importance of doing that, do they, until they seek financial advice and then understand it's the tax benefit more than anything else. I'm also just talking about in later life as well. I know what's been very important to me recently is understanding where my parents' wills are, understanding what their wishes are around care, and making sure there's powers of attorney in place so that I'm able to sign on their behalf. Because if that's not clear and nobody understands that, then it's a very difficult place to be, to deal with your family's estate when you don't know those things. So equally as important as starting with the young children is to make sure your adult children are aware of the situation as well.
It's having those sometimes difficult conversations, because you maybe don't want to say, Mum and Dad, it would be good to get this in place, just you don't want to offend them. But then again, if the worst were to happen, it's always something nice just to have in the drawer. You hope that you'll never need it, but it's sometimes a difficult thing to bring up.
Yeah, it's not a nice chat to have, is it?
Not
But
really.
sometimes it's got to be done.
So I think the moral of the tale is keep talking about money.
Absolutely.